Year 2 under Manny Diaz. They had a very good year last year. Unsurprisingly, as Manny Diaz is a good defensive coach, their defense was great last year. Was good at forcing turnovers. The offense under Malik Murphy was not great, and he is now gone. But they went 9-4 last year, and they bring in Darian Mensah, the quarterback. Don't know why it says wide receiver. That was on me. But the quarterback from Tulane, who had a very good season last year, he comes in to take over. Thoughts on Darian Mensah off rip?
Talented, very talented, fun watch. I think he's I don't remember what year he is. Junior?
He's young. I think he may be a sophomore.
If he's a sophomore, then he would be someone I'm looking at for next year's draft. Next year's draft, I guess I would say, not this coming year's draft. But he is very, very talented. He's a super fun watch. It kind of sucks that he leaves Tulane. I think he would have a better chance to make the playoff at Tulane. But he'll immediately be thrown into the fire as he plays week 3 at Tulane. That'll be marquee watch right there. Even who would have thought a Duke at Tulane game is a kind of a must-watch game for the season, but it has quickly became that with Darian Mensah transferring from the Green Wave. But he's really, really talented. He's a fun watch, and I look forward to watching him more this season. He's one of those quarterbacks I want to see a lot more of to kind of get a full grasp on how talented he truly is.
Sure. Yeah, I think he'll play well. I think he's a step up from Malik Murphy, personally. The bigger question for me is Duke doesn't really have the best weapons. The wide receiver room is not very talented. I have highlighted a guy, Andrell Anthony, who's transferring in for Oklahoma. He only had 1 catch last year, but in between his time at Michigan and previous years at Oklahoma has been more productive, has shown some talent. So maybe he kind of gets going again here. Regardless, this team just shines on defense, especially in the secondary. It's funny they had Mike Elko before Manny Diaz, who is a secondaries coach. Manny Diaz comes in and kind of just keeps the train rolling. The defensive back duo of Chandler Rivers at corner and Terry Moore at safety, it's fun to watch. They patrol the area very well. They lead the secondary very well. They combined for 75 solo tackles last year and 7 picks. Chandler Rivers had an 89.8 PFF coverage grade, and Terry Moore had an 89.2 PFF coverage grade. Sanders, is that good?
That is good. That is very good.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And they're both back. It'll be fun to watch. I'm excited for it. And then Jaden Francois is kind of this gadget guy they're bringing in from Utah State to help out in the secondary. Or at linebacker, had 51 tackles and a pick last season there. So if you're going to watch this team, it's how does Darian Mensah look at quarterback and lead the offense? And even if it's things like he's pretty good this year, what does it look like next year? You know, can we keep him in-house? Can we keep building? And then can the defense just continue to be really good? So one thing I do want to point out, 129th last year in third down conversion rate at 28.6, which is downright awful. So if there's one thing Darian Mensah can figure out how to do and help this team is just up that conversion rate. So
yeah, I think you touched on it there. That's the biggest fear right now is this just a stepping block for Darian Mensah?
Yeah.
Let's move up to Power 4, and really the two bad conferences of Power 4 before we can move into the Power 2. That is the SEC and the Big Ten. Duke had a very interesting season. They start off really hot, 5-0 against not necessarily great competition, and then they lost kind of an inexplicable game to SMU.
So frustrating.
Where SMU turned the ball over 6 times. Duke turned it over 0 times, and they lose 28-27 in overtime. They come back and follow that up the next week with an embarrassing show against Miami and Cam Ward. Given how good Manny Diaz is defensively in his return to Miami. But Darian Mensah transferring is a big fear this year. How can you keep him happy and keep him in-house? And I think how that's going to happen is they're going to have to win big games. You've got Week 9 at bye. That's a tough opponent. I don't know why someone put at bye. I just thought that was funny that one of y'all put that there.
It was me. I did all the schedules.
But at bye,
Hey,
that's
a
a tough
road
one.
game, a road off week is really hard. You have to
Yeah.
leave your facilities and just go away.
That's
for the
good.
Week.
But at Tulane that's a huge game for Mensa. Then to have to travel out west, we saw how difficult that was for a lot of teams playing at California last year. Playing in Death Valley is not easy. UConn won't be easy given their basketball success. But at North Carolina is a huge game. It quickly becomes one of the best rivalries in college basketball, becomes something in college football with the addition of Bill Belichick. And that is not a game you want to lose
No.
if you're Manny Diaz and the Duke Blue Devils. So that is going to be huge for them. And winning those kind of games, I think, is huge in terms of keeping Mensa in house. Because now, if you can build off a season like that, you can bring in these transfers and try and build something for next year. I think their fear is we don't want it to go like how Riley Leonard went, where he plays really good, has these marquee moments, but we weren't quite good enough to say, okay, we're going to bring in guys.
Yeah.
So Leonard leaves, and now he's playing in a national title game. Duke doesn't want that to happen.
No.
They want to be a premier program because they have the capability to do that. Given their
Sure.
success as a collegiate basketball program, the money is there, and they want to have success year-round, not just in November through March.
And I think they learned from their Riley Leonard mistake. Time will tell next offseason. But the rumors about how coveted Mensah was at Tulane and how much they had to pay to get him to leave shows me that they're pretty serious about competing and trying to keep him in-house for 2 years.
And last year was a fantastic step. I mean, they finished 9-4. They should have been ranked. I think they were the first P4 team to finish with 9 or more wins and not be ranked in 10 years. It was in a long time. Way too should have been ranked. They have the 5th best recruiting class in the ACC, so they're bringing some high school talent. I do think that they're setting up next year, like you said, to bring in some transfers. If they can keep Mensah in the building, Mensah.
I'm going with Mensah.
If they keep Mensah in the building next year, they could be setting up to try and build something long-term success as opposed to just something short-term.
I will say in terms of them deserving to be ranked, I think they beat, I don't know if they beat a team that had more than 6 or 7 wins. So
That is fair, but
I get the precedent you're talking about.
yeah, it was a very long precedent.
But they did a good job beating the weaker teams on their schedule. Can we get to Duke's over-under?
Yes, over-under is 6.5.
Yeah, I'll start it off. I'm going to take the over here. I don't necessarily expect them to hit 9 wins again, but 7 or 8 seems totally doable to me. Like I've already said, I think Mensah is an upgrade at QB, and their defense should continue to be good under Manny Diaz, so I got the over.
I will also be taking the over.
I wouldn't bet the under, but I'm going to take the
Okay.
under because the odds I would assume are terrible on it. But like I said earlier, 6 road games and 7 if you include at bye. That's not easy for any program or any team, and I think it has the potential for them to stumble up throughout this year. And then even their home games aren't at Georgia Tech is not necessarily going to be a win. I expect NC State to be a little bit better than they were last year. So I would not bet under 6.5, but I'm going to take them to go under.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm glad we have some parity on our over-unders finally.
I think that's the first one
It
where we
is.
have had different picks.
It is.